I'm Amy, and you're listening to the Creativity Matters podcast. Today on the Creativity Matters podcast, a new year, new creative processes, a fresh start. Here we go.
You're listening to the CMP, a Creativity Matters podcast.
Stories of creative journey and a reminder that creativity matters in whatever form it takes for you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Creativity Matters podcast. I'm Amy, and this is episode 435. Hello, 2021. Didn't start out that way. It started out as a show about olives. And there were some problems. So we're splitting things up, redoing some things, and now we're breaking it out. Hello, 2021 gets to stand alone. Because here we are in January 2021. 2020 will always be more than a year. It became a number that held everything. It became an answer, an excuse, a reason. In almost any circumstance, any scenario, any moment of failing or exasperation or denial or justification, you could say 2020 or because 2020. And it was enough. It was enough. And now, into a new year, as if we've been dropped down a chute at a water park. And we careen to the bottom, landing with a splash. The sense, the hope, the glimmer of optimism that we made it to the end. The gratitude, the gratefulness that we made it to the end and into the clearing. 2021 may or may not prove to be all that or all that different, but I think there was a general sense of relief and excitement to see the calendar turn. 2020 done. I think 2020 had its own peculiar softness, though. A strangeness, yes. Qualities of the horrific, the terrifying, the anxiety-producing, yes. The year had a level of the unreal, the surreal. If you've walked a local road day after day and joined in with other walkers moving up or down the road, back and forth, you may have felt the zombie-like movements of that, the feeling of restless walking, that pacing, that back and forth, the sense of pause. But still, there has been a softness. The ribbon-like roads, the quiet, the pinkish glow in the distance at sunset, the first cup of coffee with people on Zoom, the scratch of a pen across paper, the new appreciation for simple patterns, simpler habits, simple connections, the filling of time. I had a few days off, and I had high hopes. Things to sort out, to organize, to ponder, to decide and plan and do. And I know I've gotten more done in these days in years past. So I was looking forward to these days, thinking of all that I would accomplish. The before and after in my head was much different than how it really went. The days were good in their own way, though. But I ended up left feeling dissatisfied somehow, so much undone, so very much. My space did not magically transform. My table did not magically clear. I didn't magically manage to record this or that, to film this flip through and make that video, write this thing or that, draw this thing or that, make that tiny cart hold all the things, fill all the pens. I didn't manage to do these things. I really did want to get a much better leg up on things in these days. But it seems I didn't make a dent. And I didn't record shows either. The 2 shows I thought would happen before the end of the year just didn't. The days were weird. My sleep patterns are weird. My dreams are weird. My timing is weird. Lots of things were weird. Lots of things were different, and that made lots of things weird in their own way. I actually did a lot of work for the CMP, though. More than once, someone would ask, "What are you doing?" And I would say, "Working on things, working on my things." "But aren't you off?" "Right, but all of these things take time. Lots of moving parts. A day off is only partly a day off." But yes, being off, that was really good. So, if you didn't already see, I did post year-end reflection questions, a year-end review sketchnote post, creative life planning questions for 2021, and thoughts on choosing and finding a word for the year. A really important and anchoring step, I think, in January. It isn't too late to do any of these things. I sometimes think January is a month filled with some of these getting ready or lining up your rubber ducks moments. And I still need to do a number of these things myself. I also need to make a list of books that I read and books that might make my short list for this year, and so on. I posted a holiday time lapse too. That has a bit of CMP style talk. It's not very long, shorter than an episode, so that is at YouTube. I recorded an ink filling video, and I did that in the week before the holiday. I did it in part to test the process. I had a thought. I was really excited, and it left a lot to be desired. But it did help me see what I would need to solve, lots, and I haven't posted that one. I think it's probably one to scrap. I hate to say that, but I think that's probably true. At some other point, you will hear me talk about those inks. I had planned to follow that with another ink fill video for the new year. So I was doing the first one sort of as a test. Some old inks I was loading up in a few pens, and then I was going to follow that with probably January 1st, inking some pens with a few new inks, getting ready for the new year, putting something new in process. I haven't done that yet. I haven't filled those pens. I keep thinking, oh, maybe I will try it again. The Start Where You Are video was and is important. And I really hope that if you haven't heard that one, you go back and take a listen, and that you keep that mentality in mind as we move into these days. In a new year especially, I hope you remember to start where you are. Start with hope and optimism, fresh eyes, and an acceptance of whatever where you are looks like. You validate your creative desires by starting, by taking that first step, deciding that you want to do this 30-day challenge or a 365 this year, or that you want to try and improve a certain skill or come at it from a different angle or add to something else. You validate your own creative life by those decisions that you make and by taking the first step. You give weight to the idea that you have in your head of what you want to make or try or explore, what you want to improve, what it is you hope to take into your hands and shape, inhabit, and claim. And you learn by doing. You grow by doing. You find out by doing whether or not you want to spend the time and energy on whatever that thing is. Maybe it was always this idea you had, and it turns out it's really not the right thing for you. Or maybe you find that you love it. But you have to start. You have to start, and you have to be willing to experiment, to try, to learn, to grow, to remember that everything takes repetition and practice, the doing again and again and over, and through that repetition, we grow. You have to be gentle with yourself. Starting can be frightening and hard, it can be disappointing at times, but it can also fill you with energy, with knowing, with satisfaction. So keep pushing. Be willing to push day by day and week by week, but don't let thinking that you don't have the right pen or the perfect notebook or the right paper or the shiniest paint let you think that you can't do something. Those are not magic things. The right pen is not a magic key. The right paper, yes, it may make a bit of difference. It is not, though, the magic portal from A to Z. All the work in between is what counts. Start with what you have, where you are, but start. Fresh New Year is a wonderful time to begin a creative practice, work on a creative habit, work on establishing a stronger routine than you might already have, or to start something bigger. Start something with more numbers, more boxes you want to check off. It's all based on where you are and what you've been doing, what you'll do this year. But especially if you are really new to this idea, if you are yearning to be more creative, to spend more time in your creative life, or really looking for more mindfulness, more calm and balance and peace and centeredness, I encourage you to start. The only major statistic that I have pulled so far for my sketch note was the number of episodes of the podcast in 2020. 60. 60 core shows plus a few extras at Patreon. 60. It's a good number. It's a big number. It's a nice round number. 60. It is a good number, Amy. It is a good number. The show didn't grow, but Amy, 60 is a really good number. The show did grow beyond its storage container, but in other ways, it always seems to stay the same. I went through and took a look by month at the shows, and it surprised me to see how the number of episodes panned out over the year. June and July had the most. And in June, there was the climb to episode 400, an unplanned flag in the sand. And many of you encouraged that and you supported that. And that meant a lot to me. I had not planned on going for that. I didn't think I would do that. And then I did. I'm happy to see that July continued the momentum well after the birthday date. I'm happy about the 60 shows, about the June push, because it took conviction. It took a welling up of voice to finally accept that the year was different, that 2020 was different. My space was different. My time was different. And it wasn't just going to suddenly snap back into shape. It took something to finally say, okay, if we're going to keep doing this, we're going to have to do it differently. Going to have to make it work, take a completely different approach and a willingness to just do it and go from there. 60 shows is a lot for what this is, for a show that comes from the margins and is created in the margins. It would have been very easy for these shows to not have happened last year. And once I finally decided to go ahead and do it, that I could not stop talking just because of 2020, that I needed to talk and that maybe people out there also needed to hear. I stacked up those Kleenex boxes and for many months propped a small portable recorder in those. And I'm really glad now that I took that step and just went ahead and said, okay, we're going to do it. And it might be different. It might be less pulled together. It might be totally different in feel than in years past. But we're going to keep doing the CMP. I can't imagine not having recorded the shows of 2020. The blurry bubble of the year gains definition for me when I look at the list of shows. Little flashes as I hold that ball of the year in my mind, little flashes that offset what I also know about the year's pandemic and the year's politics. These little flashes are the anchor points in the year, the little bits of glimmer and glow little silver linings here and there, little bits of sparkle, little bits of knowing and mindfulness and gratitude. These little flashes, 60 shows. It took me a hefty multiplier of that, a multiplier of time for each show. It took you time to listen. I found YouTube channels that became my background, voices that I turned on again and again. Even if I'd already watched whatever the video might be, these voices played on. Comforting routines, we all have our list. And I appreciate that you have spent some time with the CMP, that in 2020 you might have spent some time with the CMP, a sliver of your total creative mindset. I know, but I thank you. The shows of 2020. This is partly why this ended up being a split show, because the shows of 2020, the list, a farewell poem of the year, just the litany, the list. 376, stripes and strips and a late bloom. 377, the monster under the desk. 378, hooked on a feeling. 379, an ordered list. 380, simple soup. 381, new to me. 382, leap day. 383, teapots in a tree. 384, do you hear the birds? 385, mindfulness by any other name. 386, the need to process. 387, rainbow. 388, rice pudding. 389, birds. 390, quirky. 391, drawing group. 392, 5 minutes. 393, it is okay. 394, what you know. 395, Ferris wheel. 396, currently list. 397, draw along. 398, draw along 2. 399, draw along 3. 400, draw along 4. 401, here. 402, draw along. 403, pep talk. 404, stir stick. 405, journal. 406, tiger lily. 407, ink. 408, catch breath. 409, painted rocks. 410, patches. 411, between the lines. 412, preoccupied. 413, your day. 414, error log. 415, melt. 416, treat. 417, normalcy. 418, prompts. 419, random. 420, honey bear. 421, whiny. 422, mixed bag. 423, tell me. 424, spiral. 425, daily dose. 426, dip it. 427, who needs donuts? 428, what to draw. 429, a gratitude mindset. 430, start where you are. 431, day by day. 432, holiday project. 433, tree in the window. 434, year over year. The reading of that list, I always want to do that. It is an indulgence, I know. It is an indulgence. I always want to read the whole list of 400 plus titles, 400 plus show names, all these years. It is an indulgence, and yet it is a poem. And just in seeing those titles, I remember some of those moments. They do give added contour to a year that was a year of a great deal of pause and was a year of a great deal of sameness for many people and monotony in certain ways. Little things that stand out. Rainbow. I remember exactly the reason for that. And honey bear and that Ferris wheel and those teapots and trees early in the year. And then coming full circle at the end of the year with the tree in the window, which alludes back to the teapots and the trees. Another whole year of life lived here at the CMP. I hope you have done some looking back, some tallying, some reflection, some planning. I hope you have a few things that you hope to do this year. Not resolutions, but goals, or projects that you hope to spend time with. I hope you might have a few creative things that you hope to do daily or monthly or weekly, things that you have a certain number for. You want to do 30 of this or 50 of that, 52 if it's a weekly. All kinds of ways you can set up a list that gives you something to go for, some way to gauge your progress. It is different than a resolution. I hope you have thought about how you might track your energies, your work, your progress, if tracking helps you or has meaning, and that you are creating those systems, whether on paper, a bullet journal, or using digital tools. I've been using a new tool and have spent a lot of time in the last couple of weeks experimenting and setting up new systems for myself. In the end, I know I will also be using paper. I know it will probably be a combination, but I have put a lot of effort and energy right now into creating some new systems online, some digital systems. I hope you have given thought to a word for the year and that you started off January 1 with something creative and a smile and hope for the future. I did go ahead and post Illustrate Your Week prompts for January for week 1. I will be working that way myself anyway, and I debated about whether or not to post any prompts at all for January. I thought maybe I should just do it on alternating months, or maybe just not do it right now, not do it in terms of putting prompts out for others who might want to do it. I know there are so many things going on in January, so many new challenges and things that you might be trying, but in the end, I didn't want to let it go. We have a little momentum coming out of last year. I decided to simplify for January, to combine the prompts and the scavenger list into one free-form list that you can use however you choose. I don't know that it will remain that way in other months, but for January, I think that will lighten the load. Even for me, it will let me work on some other things I need to do and take care of right now in my journal. And at the same time, give me some things I can check off that I can easily work in around other drawings that I might want to do. So if you have been doing it with me, I hope you will continue to do so. It is just week 1. I'm going to just go with the week of the year for these. And if you've never tried it, but you're hoping to use a new bullet journal or a new planner and you want to make that a combination, an illustrated journal, if you're using a Hobonichi and you want to use that as an illustrated journal, which a lot of people do, then you might find these prompts helpful. They're little nudges, things to think about, easy things you can add in if you're stuck, or add in alongside your other journaling, your other documentation, your other drawing, your other list making. So those things are there as well.
I am the art is me.
And that is it for episode 435. It's never a great thing when I have to redo something like this. I always feel a little forlorn because I think a lot of things don't come out quite the same, but there will now be a second show, a second part with the story part of all of this. And so something to look forward to. Thank you for listening. As always, I really appreciate you listening to the CMP. There would be no CMP if there was no one to listen. So I appreciate it. I know I have heard from some of you in recent weeks. Your comments, your messages mean a great deal to me. It has really meant a lot to be hearing from new people who are somehow finding and discovering this show now and finding in it something that has resonance, something that has meaning or value, makes them feel seen, makes them feel less alone, offers some form of insight or validation. So I am really grateful for all of you who are listening. As always, I'm Amy. You can reach me at creativitymatterspodcast@gmail.com. The show notes are on the creativitymatterspodcast.com website. The music I play is courtesy of Nikolai Heidless. You can find me at Instagram as OAmyOAmy and also as Creativity Matters Podcast. Anything about the show or illustrate your week, things like the year-end prompts, all of that is on the Creativity Matters Podcast channel. And then all of my own work is on OAmyOAmy. I am most likely to follow and interact with you through OAmyOAmy, but all of the other stuff will go through the CMP. Thank you to those of you who support the show in any way. I very much appreciate those of you who do that. Thank you especially to those of you at Patreon, patreon.com/creativitymatters. Your support of the show helps make the show possible for everyone who's listening. I know at this time of year, people are making decisions and choices and also investing money in classes they want to take or workshops or new subscriptions for this or that. And I know that things that are free are just viewed as bonuses. Until next time, remember that creativity matters in whatever form it takes for you. And don't forget to breathe. And I think we're going to do a word. I think maybe we should do a word every time this year. We'll have our own little secret word, and it could appear anywhere, I guess. Although often it's at the end because I know people really probably don't make it to the end. So the few of you who do, hear the word. And maybe we should track it this year. Maybe we should do a much better job of tracking it. It's always random. Today I'm going to go with sparklers. No real reason. I did hear sparklers on January 1st. Well, December 31st at night, the kids outside next door had sparklers. I didn't go look, but I heard them. You know that sound. So sparklers. Pretty simple, pretty timely. Again, I hope you have a really good week, and don't forget to breathe.